Thanks for tuning in, Patriot Nation. You might hear random explosions in the background. It's 4th of July weekend. Tried to film earlier, and we actually had to wait for the neighbors to run out of fireworks, calm down, get drunk, pass out, who knows what. Quieted down now, but you'll probably still hear some random ones. But today we're going to do my review on the Walther PPQ. Obviously it says Walther on the box, coming in a nice hard plastic case. Inside, you've got your pistol, safety flag. It's even designated Walther, isn't that fancy? Comes with 2 magazines, speed loader, your replaceable back straps. You get a total of 3, small, medium, and large. Underneath here you've got your lock and manual and test target. But the main thing we're going to look at is the pistol itself. Safety sallies. Weapon is clear. This is the Model 1 or M1 version that has the European paddle style mag release on the trigger guard. They did come out with an M2 with the traditional American style push button release. This one is chambered in 9mm. It's also available in 40 Smith & Wesson. This pistol is very ergonomic, very comfortable to shoot. I was impressed the moment I got one in my hands for the first time. It fits really well, and it's very natural point of aim when you're shooting it. With the 9mm, standard magazine capacity is 15 rounds, unless you live in some of the not so free states. Walther does have available extended 17 rounds. It's got a base plate that's going to stick out some. I have not been able to locate just the base plates like you can get for your Glocks and things like that. I've only been able to find the 17 round magazine by itself, which is kind of disappointing. It'd be nice if you could just buy the extension, put that on there, but you can't, as far as I know. You have to buy it in the configuration for 17 rounds. But it is a polymer frame, striker fired, very similar to your Glocks in a lot of ways. 4-inch barrel. The barrel and the slide are Tenifer coated, which Glock used to use a Tenifer finish, but they no longer do. I don't know exactly why. From what I've heard, the use of a Tenifer finish does not meet EPA standards in the United States, and Glock now manufactures pistols in the United States as well as in Austria. So to make sure that it's the same across the board, I believe they went away from a Tenifer finish. Don't quote that as being 100% true. It's just what I've heard and what limited research I've done, what I've come across. But the frame is a fiberglass reinforced polymer. Does have the changeable back straps. Right now I've got the small on there. Comes with a medium and a large. Removal of this pin. The back strap comes right off and you can replace it. Very ergonomic, very comfortable. The stippling on the frame doesn't really look all that attractive. Doesn't look like it do a whole lot. When you get in there and you get a good purchase on the pistol, without hurting, it feels like that stippling really kind of bites into your hand and gives you good control over the pistol, over managing recoil. Like I said, the European style paddle mag release. It's got an extended trigger guard. No issues getting if you have gloves on, no issues in there. Getting your finger in there. Plenty of room. It's got a 1913 Picatinny rail for mounting your lights, lasers. You got slide serrations, front and rear on both sides, which is nice for your press checks. And they're not too aggressive, but they definitely allow you to get a firm grip on that slide. Definitely allow you to manipulate it very easily. They function really well. This pistol is 100% ambidextrous. Your only controls are the magazine release It can be actuated on either side, and your slide release, which as you can see is on both sides of the pistol. Standard, it comes with 3-dot sights. I replaced those. For a pistol that seemed as well built as this is, the sights seemed extremely cheap. To me, they seemed even cheaper than your standard Glock sights. They were plastic and just seemed very cheap. So the only modification I've made to this was replacing the sights. I went with a set of Trijicon sights. I've got the white dot, tritium front, and then a blacked out rear sight. So that's my sight picture on this. Works pretty well. Some people I've been, telling me they can't do the solid black. They got to have the dots on the rear sight. Doesn't bother me at all. It works really well for me. This pistol's so naturally pointing that the sights are really easy to line up. And the thing that everybody always raves about this pistol, it's got really good ergonomics, but everybody is very impressed and raves about the trigger. And the trigger is very good. I would even call it excellent. It's got the blade and the trigger for your safety, like your Glocks do. But you actuate the trigger, and it's got a good amount of take up, but then you hit a wall, and it's got a very nice break to it. Reset, very short, slight take up, and a nice crisp break to it. Super clean break. Makes your follow-up shots very easy. Walther claims this to be 5.5 pounds. I'd guess it probably 4.5, 4.6, somewhere around there. It might be 5.5 when it comes out of the factory, but I feel like it's not 5.5 anymore after having shot it, put some rounds through it, and kind of break it in a little bit. Breakdown of the pistol is very Glock-like. You pull the slide back just a hair, pull down those 2 tabs, the slide comes forward. There you go. It's a single captured recoil spring, flat spring, and of course your barrel slides right out. There's your basic field strip for normal cleaning and maintenance. Looks similar to a Glock in some ways, if you're familiar with the internals, and in other ways it definitely doesn't. Your lug on your striker is a lot larger and more pronounced on this than it is on your Glock. One of the things that helps with this pistol as far as the trigger and the trigger pull is when this weapon goes in the battery, when this weapon goes in the battery, the striker is fully cocked to its far back position. So when you pull the trigger, all you have to do is release the striker forward. Where like your Glock pistols are about 75% of the way cocked, and when you're pulling that trigger, you're still bringing the striker to the rear about the last 25% or so, and then when it reaches the rear, you've depressed your safety plunger, pressure gets taken off the striker lug, and striker goes forward. This one is already fully cocked, so all you have to do is release the striker. Very similar to the hammer on a single action, like a 1911, a single action gun, where your trigger press, the only thing it does is release the hammer. The only thing your trigger press does on the PPQ is release the striker. Reassembly of the pistol. It's also very Glock-like. Slide it on. You're back in business. Function check. And you're good to go. I gotta tell you guys, this pistol is very ergonomic, very fun to shoot, very easy to shoot, which kind of surprised me because it's got a relatively high bore axis. If you're used to shooting Glocks or some other pistols that have a low bore axis, this one actually has a higher bore axis. The barrel actually sits higher above where you're going to grip. But I mean, it is 9mm, and even for 9mm, the recoil is very manageable. And usually as soon as I've reacquired my sights, I'm right back on target. So follow-up shots come very easily. Like I said, it's 4-inch barrel. It weighs about 24 ounces. So it's a little bit heavier. Not by much, but just a little bit heavier than, say, a Glock 19. I use Glock 19 because a lot of people are familiar with Glock 19s. They've handled them, they've seen them, shot them. It's probably the most popular Glock that's sold today is the Glock 19. So that's why I use that as my point of reference. There's a Glock 19 here. For just a small size comparison, they're both 4-inch barrels. But the PPQ is a bit longer than the Glock 19. PPQ is a bit taller for the same capacity as the Glock 19. But it's not a sizable difference. I mean, it's not the size of, say, a Glock 17. It's not, it's kind of in between, because there's your Glock 17, which is a 4.46-inch barrel. As you can see, it is a bit longer and it's definitely higher. Then again, the 17 is 17 plus 1. So it's a little bit bigger than a 19, definitely smaller than the 17. Very ergonomic, extremely reliable, not had one malfunction, shooting all types of ammunition, different manufacturers, different bullet weights. It doesn't matter, it chews them all up, spits them out. If I had to say there's any negatives about it, honestly the only negative I have about it was the sights, which I replaced. They just felt too cheap for something that's going to be a duty weapon, a carry weapon. If it's a occasional range gun, you'll be fine. If you plan on using this for any amount of use, you know, holstering, carrying, anything like that, I'd suggest replacing them because they just felt really cheap. And the only other complaint is the magazines. Not how they're built. They're built extremely well. They're made in Italy, so they're probably Metgars. Not how they're built, not how they run, simply the cost. These magazines run 40 bucks. 40 and up. I haven't been able to find them any cheaper than that. A couple dollars more for the 17 rounders. But, you know, that's my only two complaints about it. It's fun to shoot. If I take, you know, usually when I go to the range, I usually take more than one gun unless I'm really focusing on one in particular. If I take this and I take anything else, and what am I going to shoot? I usually find myself going back to the PPQ because it's very enjoyable to shoot, very fun to shoot. But there you go, guys. There's my Walther PPQ. Would definitely suggest this to anyone that's looking for a 9mm pistol around that size. In my opinion, you can't go wrong with it. We'll be back soon. It's 4th of July weekend. Hope you guys enjoy it. Stay safe. Remember why we're celebrating. It's more than just fireworks and cookouts. Remember the real reason why we have the 4th of July. And may I all say a prayer that we can continue to have them, because the way things are going, it doesn't look so good. But until next time, guys, stay armed, stay safe, and stay free.